I'm going to start with a collection of poems that I'm working on based on the Catholic sacraments. Confesión, reconciliation. A church is burning down, hymns the whistle of molasses, her skin darkening with the evening, as missal pages burn in sequence, a floating city of luciérnagas, fireflies scrambling with the wind, these moonless knives of crickets, philically denouncing this obscene furnace that gives fire to us, the elect, amigos de Dios, and martyrs of this purgatorio of ascending copper veins, lighting rods seeping green on coral limestone that crumbled into rubble a year ago, next decade, perpetually untended, except for a coterie of royal palms where a mortar of cows scissor punch at eggs for their thorn nest as a car goes past, his bumper indifferent. Si Dios está contigo, está en tu contra. Second sacrament is Santas Órdenes, ordination. The motel sign was missing 5 volts precisely. Its right arrow, decorating the style of an actress's dressing mirror, pointed beyond the royal palm. The pious cross themselves as they drive their pasolas on their way to San Cristobal. The gate, forged bronze, reddened by the imperious sun, could care less for whom imported. A black Lexus Jeepeta sweeps along the empty concrete lot, stopping at the head cabana. The lone attendant in his niche counts money through a grill. Anonymous pecadores in the premeditated penance of an indulged confession. The garage door shuts, lighting stairs that lead to a round burgundy bed, and a laminated sign multiplied in water-stained mirrors. Llena el jacuzzi por 300 pesos. A towel swamp signed by a maid topples itself onto the sheets when Padre Sanchez sits down in the bed to wait breathlessly to anoint me. Bautismo, baptism. Remember we used to play in Lira Park, hunting imaginary urogallos, tying up hairpins and straws, impaling lizards? We counted happiness in the shots of tirachinas. We played with toy men in 10-foot mountains, you, always the hero. On cold days, we made tin bombs, blowing up dirt and ants, the smell of gunpowder on our faded Levi's. In the mornings, we used to give bread through the fence to limpiabotas, their faces black, their mouth a hungry smile. Afternoons, we climbed walls to see Carolina hidden behind her window. May rains brought paper boats, and we sailed the streets to sink Enrique's plastic ships. Remember what he taught us? His pants were down, and you told me that it tickled. That night, Candida took me for crazy. People who do that turn blind, she warned, left all the talking to the psychiatrist. Extrema unción, last rites. Today they won't find my inflamed colon nor the abscesses of my liver, for my heart still drunk on dopamine with no discernible damage. Yet the oleum infirmorum leaves my forehead wet like a birth, or the recently mopped corridor that you try to avoid like hospitals, or to ignore like me, prostrated, tallying my breaths in a slapdash attempt to gather the saliva needed to remove the hose stuck to my palate before some Taino psychopomp starts counting my remaining seconds in me to walk to the roots of a ceiba that he cannot see as my eyes fusing knots leave me alone amidst the secret hissings of machines. This next poem is a reflection on a sculpture by Lydia Clark. It's riveted aluminum, and the viewer is welcome to move it around, and it coincided with the start of the war in Ukraine. So, psychopomp. Me, I'm pluming sear wings secreted inside my titanium skin, oxidizing white, like the raw silk of mesophyll spiders weaving their orbs into space songs. I lay awake in ectoparasitic slumber, craving gamma rays, but instead I starve myself on a diet of stardust, neutrinos, and cleric's ignorance of my profane roots. I'm an origami of one fold, mutating in Euclidean space, curving capriciously to the vibrations of distant temblors that tingle my neural nodes awake. I dream of morning fire, exploding stars, the fatuous embers powering my Latines with their ancient line to maroon me in the gravity of this brightly planet. You feed me earthquakes in kilotons, massage my desiccation cracks with cluster bonds, let a litany of thermobaric combustions judder in electromagnetic retorts, rearrange my concrete bones like the petals of sand roses, breathe me like a wedge tornado, collapsing my multiplicities into your stark-eyed lands. Interrogate me to confess my hidden plains and seabeds, a scourge counter-earth revealing its Karakudian trails to beget by a single seed. Fertilize my kernel with your blood to see it flower at midnight, its pollen a pandemonium of black holes falling onto you like burning summer snow. This next two are dirges from another series of poems I'm working on. Dirge 1, Teenage. The light of the mortuary is always on. What a voice of money, you say, protesting that his 24-hour bar still closes between 4 and 5 a.m. for cleaning as your hand strangles a whiskey with the confidence of zebra crossings. It is already 3:45 a.m. and we time our days like hospice patients with no one to pay their stay, but who lay by a couple of €2 coins to salute to their eyes in death. With just enough time for questions about who will die first, we laugh at each other as if we always had known, raising a toast to a mortician on her way home, one last gulp that leaves in your mouth a viaticum for her next shift, as fresh as Listerine. Dirge 2, Infant. A gecko barks warnings into sun, stuck in the radiance of the impossibly white ceiling of the covered terrace where my grandmother rocks in the metal of a 50s garden chair. I play with a Lucky Strike ashtray, a souvenir left over from the bladder she smoked away into the urostomy bag screaming pink against her belly. Abuela says that loneliness tastes of mint, but I'm distracted by the stench of hanging mangoes pregnant with sun, masking the memories of Martin's sweat when he showed me a red libellula one day he was cleaning the pond. Today the dragonfly is green, and I chase it wild circles before settling to twitch at the edge of the ashtray, displeasing my grandmother. Too late now to enjoy its good omen, too soon to decipher its message. Bored of this 3-year-old, she shoots her chancletas to leave me alone in the room, running off in even steps, resolute, like a wasp fertilizing a fig, her death blooming slowly inside me. And this next poem is in the shape of a bunch of pictures in a gallery. It has 2 epitaphs and 2 sections. Let's see if I can render this spoken. Asunder, the shadow of your steps, hollow echoes of a sinking pebble, skimming towards the abyss. I know you, but we never met. I saw you first walking aloof in a crowded market, ignoring the peddlers. I track you carefully, trying to get noticed, to where the city gambles green or concrete monotonies. I dream you once, and for an instant, trap you in the lasso of my compulsions. I had you fast like a sniper, imagine kisses in the interval between heartbeats. I ignore you to run motions made of food fantasies in a vain attempt to forget you. I betrayed you more times than I can list, but I know you will forgive these transgressions. I asked your hugger for permission to raise you, just to know how it would feel but she was against the corruption of your body into a bloody mess, and I'm not a drowner. The white of snow falls, fogs littering through these diaphanous branches. Now you stand next to me at the Tate, looking at Moriyama, the Vaishu's eyes staring at us with cliched indifference. I follow you in the conspicuous games of spy that you seem to enjoy. You a growling Norse Mara, me a pretend Moorish and Kemskews of a Tangier trafficker of words. Instead, I study your long hands pushing a spoon the way wind marks snow inside me. I make you between dishes, a Polaroid of first Sunday light, marking a yellow road to your belly through the absences of a Venetian blind. After coffee, you stand up, leaving me to divine our future in the brown-stained sugar dregs of your cup. I stand up too, and turn back towards me, aloof, as if I'd never written about you. And one last poem about time in the Dominican Republic, where we had a transition from democracy into dictatorship into not so perfect democracy. Mother, an off-tuned merengue lesson. 1, steps, pasos. Water sways, you shift your weight from left to right, which is wrong, as ladies always start right. Left here is better left for the communist muchachos soon to die in a cave. 1, 2, 3, 4, turn and turn extempo like an afternoon of northern Spanish rain and sick fishermen smuggling unknown boxes. 5, 6, hips going again, always together. Every step is back to the beginning of a tale sin vuelta, gyrating mislaid like socialist boats vanishing this last pole. Side, close, abre, cierra, open wider tus piernas. Today, on this Saturday, not yet your day, but breathe and count steps to 8, to watch the waters break. 2, hips, caderas, back laid, bent knees, arms raised like mountain corn in the company of white faves, those Asturian noble beans. But you smell guandules peas, this perspiring night, dark like morcillas, hanging like ghosts of exotic viral infections, collecting the dead babies of Clinic Abreu. Abreu, an anagram of your husband's, that you don't notice is dying Saturday, spent in a strange bed, not yours. Assisted by older orderlies, damp, unfamiliar's wet heat soaks your toes to full attention from the air conditioning you can't afford to hate. Hemorrhoids evaporate as down swells ahead, too late to trade for a bit of quiet and one more migraine. 7, 8 rocks you like a bad dancer, to-ing and froing to march in place. 7, 8, the Colorados have gone again. 3, stockade step, paso de empalizada. A quick cut to the perineum, the stoccada leaves the bed wet like a muleta, purple like the PLD, and my 3 pounds, 8 ounces. 10:20, so late this early Sunday, it stains, humming in silence, soaking the wet cacophony of a catacomb afterbirth, broken only when the obstetrician knives his sex another ring of flesh into your marriage. Thank you.
Thanks so much, José Buera, Sophie, Seita, and Edith here. So let's have a little break, 15, 20 minutes, and then we come back to hear